In the winter of 1831, deep in the mountains of western North Carolina, a young husband disappeared. His name was Charlie Silver. At first, neighbors searched the valleys and trails surrounding the small community near present-day Kona in Mitchell County. But then, someone noticed ashes in the fireplace, and hidden within them were fragments of bone. What followed became one of the darkest and most enduring legends in Appalachian history. A young woman accused of murdering her husband. A trial surrounded by rumor and fear. A hanging that captured the attention of the entire state. And a story that may not have been as simple as the legend later claimed. This is Echoes of the Blue Ridge. I'm author and realtor Ryan Phillips. For nearly 2 centuries, the story of Frankie Silver has echoed through the mountains of western North Carolina. Most versions of the legend tell the same basic story. Frankie Silver, a jealous young wife, waited until her husband Charlie fell asleep beside the fire holding their infant daughter. Then sometime during the night, she killed him with an axe, dismembered the body, and attempted to burn the remains in the fireplace. That version became the legend. But legends are not always the same thing as truth. And over time, many people began questioning what really happened inside that little mountain cabin. One detail often forgotten in the story is just how young Charlie and Frankie were. Charlie Silver was only 19 years old. Frances Stewart Silver was around 18. They were not hardened criminals. They were mountain teenagers trying to build a life in the isolated Appalachians of the early 19th century. Had tragedy never struck, they likely would have raised children together and disappeared quietly into ordinary mountain history. Instead, their names became legend. The story begins in the rugged mountain community of Kona near the Yancey County line in present-day Mitchell County, North Carolina. At that time, these were deeply isolated mountain settlements. Cabins scattered through valleys, narrow trails instead of roads. Families living close together through necessity and survival. And in places like this, everyone knew everyone else's business. Rumors spread quickly, especially after violence. According to the traditional version of events, Frankie carefully planned Charlie's murder. One story claims she gently removed their baby daughter from Charlie's arms while he slept near the fire, then struck him with an axe before dismembering and burning the body overnight. Over generations, this became one of Appalachia's most infamous murder tales. But there are problems with the story, and many descendants and researchers have questioned whether Frankie was truly a cold-blooded killer legend later created. As historians and family researchers dug deeper into the case, another possibility emerged, one tied not to jealousy, but to abuse and survival. After Governor Montford Stokes refused Frankie a pardon, she finally confessed to the killing. According to multiple accounts, Frankie claimed Charlie had abused her, threatened her life, and attempted to kill her. Suddenly, the story changed. Not murder for jealousy, but possibly self-defense. And once the community heard Frankie's version, public opinion shifted dramatically. One of the most troubling parts of the Frankie Silver story lies within the courtroom itself. At the time of her trial, North Carolina law did not allow defendants to testify on their own behalf. Frankie could not tell her story directly to the jury. She could not explain abuse, fear, or what happened inside the cabin. And many later observers believe that fact alone may have sealed her fate. Even years afterward, legal figures connected to the case reportedly believed had the defense admitted the killing and argued justification, Frankie may have been acquitted entirely. Instead, her defense relied on complete denial, and the jury convicted her of murder. After Frankie's confession became known, support for her grew throughout the region. Petitions flooded the governor's office asking for mercy. Even members of the community, jail personnel, and reportedly several jurors signed petitions requesting a pardon. But no pardon came. and on July 12, 1833, Frances Stewart Silver was hanged in Morganton, North Carolina. She became the most famous executed woman in North Carolina history. Not long after the execution, a ballad began spreading through Appalachia, the Ballad of Frankie Silver. For generations, people believed Frankie herself wrote the haunting words while sitting in jail awaiting execution. But modern research suggests that is likely untrue. Frankie was largely illiterate. The ballad was probably written by someone else and sold publicly around the time of her hanging. Still, the song endured, because Appalachia remembers through music, and ballads often preserve emotion long after facts become uncertain. Even after death, mystery continued surrounding Frankie Silver. Stories spread that medical students sought her body after the execution because female cadavers were rare at the time. According to the legend, Frankie's father secretly arranged multiple graves to confuse grave robbers before burying her under cover of darkness somewhere near the old Buckhorn Tavern west of Morganton. Other theories claim she may have been buried in Macon County on land belonging to relatives. Even now, her true resting place remains uncertain, and perhaps that uncertainty only deepened the legend. Amid all the tragedy, one life continued forward: Frankie and Charlie's daughter, Nancy. Records show that Nancy Silver survived, married, had children, and left behind generations of descendants throughout the mountains. The bloodline continued, which means the story of Frankie Silver is not merely about death. It's also about survival, family, and the long memory of Appalachia itself. No one alive today knows exactly what happened inside that cabin in 1831. The story passed through rumor, newspapers, oral tradition, family memory, and generations of retelling. And like many Appalachian legends, truth and folklore slowly became intertwined. But perhaps the deeper tragedy is this: Frankie Silver may have become less a real person and more a symbol, a cautionary tale, a murder legend, a mountain ghost story, while the frightened 18-year-old girl at the center of it slowly disappeared beneath the legend itself. There are stories in Appalachia that refuse to fade, stories carried through songs, graveyards, old court records, and family whispers beside fireplaces. The Ballad of Frankie Silver survived because it touched something deep within the mountains: fear, justice, survival, and the uncertainty of truth itself. And somewhere in the quiet valleys near Kona, where old cabins once stood beneath the Blue Ridge, the echoes of Frankie Silver still remain. Special thanks to Alexandria Nora Franklin in Morganton, North Carolina, who is a direct descendant of Charlie and Frankie Silver. If you have a story about history, legend, or mystery of the Blue Ridge Mountains, please message me on our Echoes of the Blue Ridge Facebook page. We'd love to hear about it and may just create an episode for your story. The mountains remember many things. They remember old trails worn deep into the valleys. They remember frontier cabins long since vanished into the forests. And they remember the towns that came and went before maps settled on the names we know today. Long before Asheville became the mountain city of galleries, churches, railroads, and grand hotels, it was something else entirely: a small frontier settlement carved from the wilderness of a newly formed county. A place called Morristown. Next time on Echoes of the Blue Ridge, we journey back to the earliest days of Buncombe County and explore the forgotten origins of Asheville itself. The story of Morristown, John Burton, and the mountain town that reinvented itself. Until then, listen carefully. The echoes are still here.